we posted a video recently talking about people being stuck in unhappy marriages.
Yes.
And there was this one comment that kind of jumped out at me from one of our viewers who said, simply, love is a choice.
Yes.
And it's a statement I've heard before. I've heard it in church a lot, but
In what way?
that one can determine in one's mind that one is going to love that person, and you just decide to love them, and you tell the heart what to do. You will love this person, and you begin behaving in loving ways, and that changes the tone of the relationship and results in a loving relationship. And I've heard it explained that way, and I've tried to follow the advice. And
in your own like dating life, or what do you mean?
Yeah, and in my own first marriage. But I have to say, and I think I get to say this because I'm like really old, I think it's just bullshit. I think it's just nonsense. But I want to explain why. And, because I think people mean well when they try to give us advice on how to love.
And that could be, to hear that, if you do believe that, like, this is kind of new for me. I don't think of it all the time, like love is a choice, but I feel like I hear what you're saying. But for people who believe it, it's kind of brings down their whole worldview, essentially. So
when you say it brings down their whole worldview,
it kind of like crumbles it, maybe. Like this podcast, maybe they need a little parental discretion, not parental discretion, but listener discretion advised. Because
so go to a seance to get parental permission.
Yeah, but it's like, let's bring your parents back from the dead. But it's like, it's an idea that, like you said, you heard in the church, maybe, I mean, a lot of people are religious in this world or in this country. And
I'm more and more comfortable calling myself religious, but not in the traditional sense. I'm a Spinozist, and I just believe humans are the most important thing there is.
Okay.
And what works for humans works for me. And I think humans want to be happy. They want to be informed how to get there. And I think sometimes giving us well-intentioned misinformation or misdirection is very time-consuming. I mean, people spend a lot of time taking that information seriously, even when it's misinformation, and then trying it, and then feeling guilty because they didn't do it right, and trying harder, and then trying harder still. And I think the advice of, well, it's an observation, love is a choice, but it's advice or even a rebuke saying that you could choose to love someone.
And you don't believe that to be true?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, the heart, metaphorically speaking, I'm not talking about the muscle that pumps the blood, but the seat of the emotions, the heart, loves or it doesn't love.
And that's beyond control of the mind.
It's beyond my control. I mean, have you ever tried to do that? Tried to make yourself fall for somebody who was like really amazing, and you could tell he or he, was an amazing human being, and you really wanted to love them.
Yeah.
But you just didn't.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that, especially on like dating over these past few years, meeting some wonderful women, but just not feeling that spark, or is that what you would call it? I don't.
I've struggled for the right language, but I think everyone in a loving relationship or a relationship that purports to be loving deserves to have the real deal. I have daughters, and I think all of my daughters deserve to be with a man who's just crazy about them. And
that's what you how you describe the real deal?
Yeah, I mean, somebody who's absolutely crazy about you. I mean, it's a foundation, right? It's it's a jumping off point. Because if you don't have respect and sobriety and, if you don't have maturity, if you don't have all these other ingredients that are required, then it's not enough. But at least you should have, I think, the love to get started. I've had this experience where I met just amazing, wonderful women, and I wanted to love them. I wished that could love them. But the idea that I could decide to love them was a non-starter, because I don't have control over my feelings. Yeah, I have control over my behavior. I can choose to treat a given stranger respectfully or not. I can treat people with dignity or not. I can treat people in a kind and loving way or not. But I really don't, in terms of the actual emotion, I haven't seen any evidence that people can control their actual feelings.
Mm.
And this idea that love is a choice, I'm sure the man who shared it meant well. And I'm thinking he probably heard it from somebody else who meant well.
Mm.
And it's got a nice ringing sort of sound to it. Love is a choice. It's like something you'd see on a billboard.
Yeah.
And about being, let's say, exhibiting kindness to those who are in need.
Mm.
And in that sense, yeah, I could choose to share food with those who are hungry. And in that sense, love is a choice. But we're talking about relationships and people falling in love or not, and unrequited loves, and maybe people living together, or ultimately perhaps even getting married. And in that context, I think it means something different, because I think it's just nonsense in that context. And it comes from, or is based on, an irrational idea, an idea that's just so profoundly irrational that I think it's easy to demonstrate. And the idea is that if I try hard enough, I really can make somebody feel a certain feeling.
Mm.
I can make someone feel loved. I've had that irrational belief, and I lived by it for the longest time.
In what exactly?
In my first marriage, for one. I mean, but there are other examples.
Did you believe that back then?
Yeah, I really did. It was.
And where did you hear it from?
I had internalized it as a child. Frankly, I think it's a nearly universal irrational belief that all of us pick up as shortly after we're out of infancy, because we have this magical idea, or a magical belief in the idea that we have this power to control others. Because when I cry, they come bring me food. Mm-hmm. When I cry, they change my diaper. When I cry, they pick me up. And it seems like, the Latin for this fallacy is post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore, because of this. Mm-hmm. And I did this thing, and that made this other person do this. But that is really not true. Because even if 999 times out of 1,000, if I do this, followed by a certain behavior, if I say to my wife, I love you, and she says, I love you too, that doesn't mean I controlled her into saying that. Mm. And there are many exceptions to her saying that. For a laugh, she'll say, I know. Or, how could you not? And the truth is, none of us can control others. And I grew up with an alcoholic parent, my wonderful mother, and she really was a wonderful parent, but she had this one problem that was also in its own way a solution for her pain, that she liked to overindulge in alcohol. And as a child, that really bothered me. All through grade school, it bothered me whenever it would happen. And I thought if I tried hard enough, I can get her to stop drinking. And I did all the things that come up in Al-Anon meetings about trying to pour the booze down the sink, or asking her to not drink, or trying to guilt trip her, or distract her from drinking. I tried all those things, and that it's a long experiment with a lot of repeat trials, but never was I able to control her from drinking.
But you were giving her love, would you say? Like, choosing love to her, and then you were expecting love.
No, it wasn't so much an experiment about love as it was about control. Mm. That if I try to do this, I can make someone else do a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that grew. And the origin, as I said, was out of our childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
We have this irrational belief that we can control others.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes, I can make them feel what I want them to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I sure can. I can make them angry. But really, can you, for a highly spiritually evolved human being? They don't get angry. They often feel pity when I go through my attempts to anger them.
Yeah.
And so even the person who got angry the last 100 times may not get angry as they see what's going on.
Because they see pity, because they see you trying to
be so pathetically controlling.
Still controlling, and they see beyond that.
The same thing in, with more pleasant emotions, like I want them to think I like them. I want them to think I love them. But we humans, and I'm speaking of people across the board, including the people who are listening to me or observing me, they are very complicated and they are very smart. And I think we often can tell a phony from the real deal.
Mm.
And just because I'm trying to make you like me doesn't mean I'm going to actually change your emotions.
Mm.
I may be temporarily successful in deceiving you, right? You may think, wow, he really likes me, or he's a great guy. And then you only to find out later that it had no sustained staying power. That isn't too redundant. There was nothing there. I was just trying to be friendly.
Yeah.
But if you're not a genuinely friendly person and you're trying to be something that you're not, it's like the very insecure man trying to act confident. And it always comes off poorly. And it's pretty easy to see through. So we've built up our own defenses against that kind of stuff. And then if I can't control you or other people, what you do or what you're feeling, how on earth could I control me? Well, some would say that's even easier. Okay, I would encourage people to run this experiment. Think of someone you hate, someone you genuinely have a very strong dislike of.
Mm-hmm.
And then just decide to love them. Just decide you're going to love them. Are you capable of doing that? I've never met anyone who was.
But can't you? But if I feel like
Yes.
Like, do you have to love them unconditionally, or can you love them like they're like in their flaws? Like, I feel like I've been doing a lot of like spiritual work stuff, and that's kind of the point you get to where you just see everyone as you, essentially, where we're all manifestations of the infinite energy source.
Well, then where you blow my idea out the water. Yeah. I mean, when you become a lover of humanity, then in the aggregate, it's pretty wonderful. And you can see a common element to us all. Okay. And I think for me, I can't make myself love someone I hate. I can strive to become a more loving person, but it's a process, right? And the goal, the process is the goal. I'm trying to become a more loving person, and I am. I'm trying to become a less hateful person, and I am. Mm-hmm. But in the context of an intimate relationship, the kinds of feelings we're talking about aren't just the absence of hatred or a warm, positive regard for her in her humanity. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, do you specifically love this person? And in that case, I think we are limited as human beings. And I don't see it as a limitation. I see it as a wonderful part of simply being authentic and alive.
But
yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying love in the sense of, though, like in a partnership, like the whole thing, like you said,
romantic love,
like being crazy about the person?
Yeah.
Like you're speaking in that sense.
Yes.
And if you don't have that feeling inside of you. You can't just
Gin it up.
yeah. What you say? Gin it up?
Yeah, like, manufacture it.
Yeah, you can't manufacture it, but that's the whole thing. Like this person's saying that it is a choice and it can be manufactured. So
It's a choice. And it's like my client who said, we were talking about the gay community, and he said rather sourly, I don't agree with that lifestyle choice.
mm,
Would you say that? And I said to him, oh, wow, okay, I never heard it talked about that way before. Are you saying that your own sexual orientation toward women as a heterosexual, that is a lifestyle choice of yours? Yes, he said. So I responded, so I have a devil in me that makes me say these things.
yeah.
So on any given day, theoretically, you could be in front of the mirror shaving and decide that you're just going to explore the other side and see what it's all about, and see what is it like to be a member of the gay community, and you're going to decide to be gay. Could you actually do that?
Mm-hmm.
And he thought about it for a long time. I mean, like a minute went by. And then he said, no, I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the follow-up there is, if you don't think you could make a choice to change your sexual orientation, what basis do you have for thinking somebody else could make a choice?
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, I think it's true that we don't have the ability to choose our emotions. But I think that that's okay as long as we are choosing our behaviors. And then our emotions become an uncontaminated data stream telling us about how we're experiencing the world, including spiritually.
Yeah.
That maybe I have an excessive hatred and I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't like hating so many people so intensely. Or maybe I'm just so disdainful of others. And I just don't like feeling that way. I want to feel more connected and more egalitarian. So I think we can change our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think we can begin to appreciate people over time that we didn't appreciate earlier. I think we can become more loving people. But in the context of a romance, I don't think we can make ourselves love somebody we just don't
have that feeling for.
for.
So for instance, let me give you something really quick. So in some other video that we posted on social media, a clip, a guy said the video was something along the lines of whether or not you stay in a relationship that's unsatisfying. And somebody responded back, well, I would advise my daughter, if she was with a guy who supported her, worked a good job, like was a good provider,
never did anything wrong,
and she just didn't have the feelings for him, that he would advise her to stay. What would you say to that? Go.
Yeah. Well, it's, as I was saying earlier, I think the world is full of perfectly wonderful human beings for whom I have no attraction. Mm-hmm. I can even admire them, as human beings. I can even accept that in so many ways they are better human beings than I am, or that I would be lucky to be in a relationship with someone just like that, except I don't have any feelings for them. It's just dead in that part of my heart. There's nothing there other than fond admiration.
So you don't like beat yourself up over that? You don't like feel bad about it? You are someone who just embraces that humanity and where you are, and you're like, I don't have to.
Am I the only one? I don't.
Well, I feel like for me, I felt like it was, you feel guilt about it or you feel bad about it. You're like, why, this person's so good. What's wrong with me? Because I'm unable to have these feelings. So
I'd like to say what's wrong with me, like for a joke, but I'm really comfortable with myself finally after all these years. And I like the God of the Old Testament. I love who I love and I hate who I hate.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, because he, loved the Israelis, or the Israelites, like they were called back then. He hated Pharaoh. And I think I think the metaphor they used was the potter with the clay. He still has the right to break whatever pot he makes, and we are the clay. So, yeah, if there is some sort of a being like that, I guess he does have the right to feel his feelings. And if I needed another religious reference, it would be Ecclesiastes, I think chapter 4, where there's a season for everything under heaven, and there's a time to love, and there is a time to hate.
Wow. It blows my mind that you could remember all this stuff. It's like, I do not have that kind of mind.
Well, I've been guilt tripped over the years by people who thought I should love.
Like I was saying, like,
Yeah, although I don't think you were trying to guilt trip me, but you were sharing that you guilt trip yourself. Yeah. And I just think, no, it's just valuable data. It's like, looking at a color and seeing the color for what it is. It's not a moral issue. It's about you as a human being. And if you find your hateful little heart that's all shrunken up and dried to be uncomfortable, then you can learn to become a more loving person. But if you're generally a loving person and for some reason you just really don't have romantic feelings for this woman who's interested in you, I don't see that as a defect.
Yeah, I feel like you're like freeing me in this.
Seriously?
Yeah, I swear to God, that's been a big problem in my life. Like I've not a big problem, but I've definitely felt it, and I felt guilty about it because I feel like there's, it's hard sometimes for people to say what they really want, I feel like. And I think that's what happens in these relationships maybe, where this is what I get, or this is what I deserve, and this person is treating me so well, and who's to say that this woman that I'm like envisioning, or like the women that I'm attracted to, it's like you don't deserve to have that. That's coming from some sort of childhood thing, probably, whatever,
early childhood
something
trauma.
like that, where I don't believe that I could, and then I settle for the other thing, and I'm just.
But you're settling and you don't have the love. There's not this like leap in your heart.
Yeah, that leap in my heart.
Recognition of a kindred soul. And
I've really quick, I've gotten better at it, but I've also felt like, even still, like I still felt like I'm still feeling a little guilty about it. But now you're saying that I don't have to feel guilty about it anymore.
No, I think, and part of that is out of love for the other person and genuine, authentic human love, not romantic love, but just for one human as another human being because essentially what you're saying is it ends up resulting in a reality where she's somehow blessed to have your less than real love in her life. When as a father of daughters, I would say, no, I really don't want them to be with some guy who doesn't love them, but who's guilt tripping himself into the relationship. I want them to be with a man who authentically loves them. And for me, all of the, this discussion starts connecting out to all these other places. And one of those places is, believe it or not, anchored in the manosphere, where I've met so many guys coming into my office who, when we touch on this topic, they get really angry with women who are not wanting to stay in a marriage because they're unhappy.
Yeah.
As if that matters.
Yeah.
And I find this way of thinking stunning, but they get angry because they believe love is a choice and that she could choose to love him and that she is withholding love.
Yeah.
But that's not something I can do. When I first met my wife, we hadn't even met. We were just two people talking over the phone, and I really got to know her well. And I realized I was in love with this woman. And what was very liberating in the moment was realizing not only was I in love, but it was maybe the first time I've ever been in love because I had no need to possess the object of my affections. I just could love her freely regardless of what she did in her life.
Yeah.
Regardless if she married the man she was engaged to, regardless if she ever moved to my home state, regardless of how things were going. It's just, she was just that wonderful. And it went beyond cognitive recognition of her many virtues, but to a place where, no, I was feeling romantically in love, but I was free of the need to make anything happen. And and it was very liberating, I guess, because I realized, oh, people who are loving, and I think I am loving, even if I do hate some people, I think I'm a loving person, and I'll share this too. This is a little, I fall in love easily. And I think it's a bit of a skill because I used to be very embarrassed of that because it meant I was superficial, but I don't think it does. I think it means that I can see what is truly lovable about a wide range of people, men and women. And that when I tell someone I really love them, I mean it. And it's regardless of whether they do something right or wrong in the future, or they do what pleases me or not.
Yeah.
It's just, I just so appreciate them. And I think there's just something wonderful about them. So for the incel, the idea that somehow women are having secret meetings and that they've decided as a collective to only love men who are over 6 feet tall with 6-figure incomes and with a six-pack is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Because a woman could even think to herself, yeah, that sounds great. But then she falls in love with some overweight bald guy who doesn't make that kind of money at all. But he just makes her laugh, and she so delights in the pleasure of his company. And all of us, I hope all of us have seen that, because it's the way of our race. Our species falls in love with unpredictable consequences. And we would never have seen that coming.
Yeah.
You know, that she fell for him or he fell for her. And the only thing I'd like to see and share as much as I can to make happen for those who are interested in learning how to love intelligently is to make sure that love doesn't have to hurt. So if I think love is something I can choose to love this woman. Damn it, I do love her. I'm going to be loving her till kingdom come. I think we're deceiving ourselves, and I think we're setting ourselves up for a lot of unhappiness.
Yeah.
But we're also not doing her any favors.
Yeah. Well, I had to have that conversation with a woman that didn't have the feelings.
Oh.
And that's hard.
Yes, you failed her.
Yeah. Well, I feel
that's a big deal, right? If you're codependent or you're a people pleaser, you really want.
Well, we weren't dating or anything. It was just like she had feelings for me. I know it goes against her. Women should be friends with men stuff. I heard about it all the time. But it was a situation where a friend ended up liking me, and I had to have that conversation, and she wanted to have it. And it was like almost like she needed to hear it. And we're no longer friends. But
so it was sort of like a friendship mortgage, hoping to get it paid off in terms of a romance
with her.
Yeah.
And on my part,
it was a bait and switch.
Yeah. But to have that conversation and to say that and to be honest with myself, and then, I mean, there were little fleeting moments sometimes here and there
of attraction.
Yeah. But it wasn't like but I feel like that's just because I'm, a man, she's a woman. Like, I feel like the person that I would want to be with, it'd be all the time like that.
More powerful.
And then I thought of you, and I'm like, this is like 2 years ago or whatever. I'm thinking like, everyone should have someone who's crazy about them. And it feels fair for me. Like, it felt like I wouldn't want her, like, because I care about her and have love for her, but I didn't feel like love in that way for her. So it's like, I wouldn't want her to be in a relationship with a guy like me who's just kind of like not have that feeling isn't fully there, but like
Yeah, I think the word is ambivalent. I can take her or leave her. There's things I like about her, things I don't like about her, but it's not passionate love. And I think,
And you say it should be passionate, or
yeah, at least that's what, okay,
that's
that's what I want.
That's what you want.
And if there are people watching this who think, no, I could totally settle for somebody as long as she was clean and neat.
Yeah. Not you.
No, I could not. And that's, I don't believe everybody deserves somebody who's crazy about them. Not precisely. I think it's more like those signs they would put on wagons headed west, Oregon or bust, or something like that, crazy or bust. I would rather just be alone. I'm comfortable with the pleasure of my own company. And I hope everybody watching this can take that on as a goal, to learn to be comfortable with the pleasure of their own company. And then when someone comes into your life, the one of the many litmus tests for me would be, I definitely would need to be crazy about her before I would want to share my life in that intimate way with her. And again,
life partner.
Yeah, as a life partner. And also, again, as a father of daughters, I would want my daughters to have that as well. So I would want women to have that in their life, and I would want men to have that. And in my office, more commonly than not, I do see sometimes where people are crazy about each other, and I'm happy for them. They come in to get some mild little tune-up. But quite often people are coming into me with, if the marriage is the patient, it's DOA. There's no pulse. They're not crazy about each other. And they're just almost going through some pro forma exercise to check a box and say, well, we tried everything, including counseling.
Yeah.
And that's, I think they could save the money if they could just admit within themselves and then to their mate, I'm really sorry. I made a mistake.
But that's hard for people to do.
It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I think just as it's harder than what you faced with that woman who liked you so much. And
yeah, because I wasn't committed.
Yeah, when you broke her heart the way you did.
I did. But
no, it's harder because you never led her on. You never implied that you loved her. But for those of us who get married to the wrong person, there's usually some sort of guilt about having led them to believe that we were in love.
Yeah.
And that it's hard to also admit for those of us who struggle with perfectionism, and that includes me. It's hard to admit that I did something wrong of such gravity, that I led someone down the wrong path, that I deceived them, but also that I deceived myself. How embarrassing is that? That I deceived myself into thinking that I love this person in that way. And it's embarrassing because of all the people on the planet, I am supposed to know me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some shame in that, right? To not have that self-awareness.
But I also, I mean, coming from someone who struggled with that, I feel like it's common. I feel like I don't think we're like
the lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, I don't think that we live in a society that promotes self-awareness, that teaches people how to even gain it. Like, for instance, we talk about what your sexual needs are or what your relational needs are. It's like we don't talk about any of that stuff. So it's like I feel like people don't even really know what they actually need, and they're in relationships before they've even done that work.
Well, that goes back to the whole, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just goes back to the beginning of, how we got married in the first place, because people get married for lots of reasons, right? And sometimes they're getting married just to escape a really even worse family of origin. So they're jumping from the frying pan into the fire. And then there are other people who are getting married because they have a desire for the goodies. They're rich and I'm not. I want to participate in that lifestyle. That sounds really great. Or because we're just so needy. We're just so alone and so needy. And it just is such a blessing to meet somebody who's really liking me and making a play for me. And when you're that needy, you often convince yourself. I know I've convinced myself that I was in love with this person when in fact later, once I get some of those needs met, I realize, oh, I'm not in love. This is a nice person, and I deceived her after deceiving myself. And that's just awful. So, yeah, I think the society could do a better job, but it really starts with each one of us individually, right? I mean, we've got to just slow down a little bit and get in touch and do a little reflection on the past and different crushes we've had, maybe going back to grade school. You know, did we really love that person? And I think, yeah, at a certain level, we love them, but in terms of life partner, that's an adult decision.
Yeah.
That's not a decision for children. And it's not a decision for adults who are not really developed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, legally they can get married, but not really a smart decision if they don't really know who they are and what they're feeling. So, you know, in the incel crowd that I was telling you about.
Yeah. I was going to say something about them really quick. So
yeah,
they want to lock down, even if they are with someone who doesn't like them, they want the person to do love as a choice. They should choose to love me. They want them.
Yes.
Like, to me, I would say I've done that in a relationship, and to me, it only prolongs the damage that's going to be done. That's inevitable.
Well, let me ask you, would you even want a woman?
What do you need?
Yeah. I want to say it out loud. Yeah. Would you even want to be with a woman who didn't love you, but she really felt bad for you? In fact, she felt pity for you. I mean, to be without her, she knew you'd be miserable. Not that she knew, because you can't know the future, but she felt so sorry for you that she sacrificed herself and her own personal happiness to stay in a marriage with you. Or she felt so guilty about stepping away, whether it was because of her religion or something else, the condemnation of others. She just felt so guilty that she stayed with you purely out of guilt.
Well, I have not been married in that scenario, but I was in a relationship in that scenario where my ex-girlfriend told me after 3 years that she was over it after a year or a year and a half. And she chose to stay, and she kind of presented it seemed to me, I could be projecting here, but it seemed like it was a favor to me. And then her friends would ask her, why are you staying? And she's like, well, there are all these things that are good about him. So I was that.
He's a nice guy. He never does anything really bad either. Yeah. He doesn't deserve to be dumped.
But I was there. And then during that year and a half or 2 years, whatever it was, where she was over it, I was trying to love her still because I loved her. And I couldn't do anything right and all that. And I was like, what is going on? And then when she said that, it made so much sense to me. I was like, oh, she didn't love me. And she stayed in the relationship.
Grateful for all the happiness of that extra 2 years?
No, it screwed me up beyond belief. Like, I'm talking like really messed me up bad. Like, I really struggled. I was confused. I was a mess from it.
I hope all the
people... I would say no. It's not. I would never do that ever again.
And you don't want it done to you.
No, I'd be happy for them to leave. I'd be like, oh, I got broken up with a smile on my face.
For those, exactly. For those out there who are still feeling guilty about having dumped anybody, I would say, let go. He or she deserved better anyway.
Yeah, that's a gift.
Not a better person, but I mean a better relationship. Because the relationship isn't you. The relationship is the sum of the parts.
But so many people stay in, and like that father example that I gave earlier, where the father's telling the daughter, I'd advise my daughter to stay if he's this, and that. I'd be like, I wanted to comment, but I can't because I'm doing the social media as you. I was ready to start my own account and create my own account and respond to the comment and be like, hey, I co-host this podcast with Steve, and tell him that story. I was like, I can't imagine any man who wants to be in a relationship where a woman does not want to have love for you. It destroys every part of you. Like, I was so like worn down after that experience. Like it did nothing good for me.
Well, I'd love to hear from men who said, no, no, I really appreciated the extra 3 years
I'd
before she,
love to hear it. Yeah, the
yeah,
men
from
too.
the horse's mouth. And
Yeah.
I know it was totally worth it because I think the men who say they want her to stay haven't really gone through that knowingly, like
Yeah.
knowing that she didn't love them, but she's staying out of pity, knowing that she didn't love them, but she's staying out of guilt.
But they have to know because of how she's acting, and but then they're just in denial, like I was, because
Yeah,
they're in denial
yeah.
because they're like, oh well, or it's they get the love as a choice, where it's like I could just love her more, and that's all I did. I try to love her more. I try to do this more. Even I'd say I love you, then she wouldn't say anything back, and I'd be like, sometimes when I say I love you, you don't say it back, and then she just doesn't even say anything, and I'm
It'd
just
be
like,
this long silence.
yeah. And it's like, and I'd be like, well, that's relationships are hard work. It's like all that stuff was like flowing through me. But I would love to hear from a guy. But I also would say to guys, it's like, guys, there's other women out there who will treat you so much better and help and give you what you need. You don't need to put all of your life and all your stock into this one person. And
There's this
like, 'cause
Curtis
I did
saying,
that.
every pot has a lid, and it's this faith that in this big universe of ours, there are enough men and women to go around that someone surely is going to appreciate me.
Mhm.
But even if that turned out to not be true, I would still rather be alone.
Well, I have that now, but it took me some time to like
A couple
process.
of years.
Um, yeah,
Once it was all
probably like 2 years after my last breakup from 2022. But I did a lot of work. I was working with you. A lot of this stuff was coming into me. I started seeing the errors of my ways. I was doing the critical incident debriefing, like looking back at the past relationships, seeing where things were going wrong, where I could have done better, or where things were kind of coming off the tracks, where I wasn't being honest with myself, where I wasn't saying what I could have said, learning how to say the things that I needed to say. I mean, it was like a whole learning experience that I had to go through.
And, hearing you say that reminds me again of what I was thinking earlier, and that's for my incel clients, the world is really, there's a technical term, there's therapists use once in a while, at least in college they do, the external locus of control. I could be happy if she could love me.
Mm.
What you did the last few years was what we call internal locus of control, where you went inside and you asked yourself, what do I need to do for me so that I can be happy? And an example of that incel related thinking, whether it's someone who accepts that he's an incel or not, is when they fall back on the rules. The commandment says thou shalt not get a divorce, right? So,
Yeah.
and that divorce is a sin, and that we made a vow till death do us part, which is really rather grim and rather frightening when you think about it, because really got it. I mean, is he telling me he's going to kill me if I try to leave? Is she going to kill me? If, like you mentioned your friend who had a girlfriend who actually tried to strangle him in the bathtub,
Yeah.
holding him underwater.
Yeah.
And
he was ready to die.
yeah,
He's like,
because he was that unhappy he wanted out.
Well, he was drunk too, and probably that too. He was just like, oh, I guess this is how it's gonna end.
Sweet Jesus, take me now.
Yeah, and then he said after that thought, he was like, oh, she's really gonna like kill me. He's like, I'm running out of air, and then he had to, and then he became abusive, essentially, like we talk about too, because we talk about the abuse-free life, and if you're in a relationship with someone who's abusive, like she was to him. I mean, how could you not be? You got to use all your force if someone's trying to kill you to push someone off of you. And she flew back and hit her head.
What a bastard.
Yeah.
How could he do that to that poor woman in her time of struggle? So, this idea that somehow the rules are going to save us. There's another gentleman I can't remember where in the newspaper I read it, but he was lobbying for a return to fault divorce. You've heard of no fault divorce.
What is that again?
No fault divorce where we just split the
amicable.
Yeah, no, not necessarily
No,
amicable, but there's a split of the property,
50-50.
and we go, and the children, if there are any, are given equal custody to each parent.
Yeah, yeah.
Or each parent is given equal custody or something agreeable. And he wants and is advocating for a return to the legislature passing laws proving that those at fault who choose to leave a marriage leave with nothing. Doesn't matter if they've spent 25 years building an empire, helping make it possible for the accrual of wealth, that she, and it's always men who are, at least in my experience, it's always men who are saying this, that she should leave with nothing.
Yeah.
You can leave, but she doesn't get anything.
Yeah.
And I just think, okay, so that's basically putting an economic pistol to her head, and you're coercing her into staying.
Yeah.
And again, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for someone who will only be willing to be with me because she faces poverty and ruin and misery if she leaves me, because living with a woman under those terms would make me miserable.
Who's this guy?
Well, there were a couple of guys. One, there was somebody who wrote in on our last podcast about, he just had all caps, till death do us part. But I've heard many of my clients say that.
Yeah.
You made promises, you made vows. Women are divorcing too easily. That's what's wrong with this country. Ever since, and it's usually around 1900, the divorce rate started creeping up as women, they were able to get jobs. And then in the 60s, it dramatically increased. And nowadays, it's settled down quite a bit. But conservative people like to say, oh, no, the divorce rate continues to fall. But that's a mistake, because they're only talking about legal marriages and legal divorces. They're not talking about people who cohabitate for years and years, have children, and build a life together. They're not including them. They're only including generally upper middle class and above income levels. And those people, they have an easier time of it, and they tend to leave less often. And yes, divorce costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you lose half, whatever half is. So there's a vested interest in staying together. But is that really healthy? If that's the only reason that people are staying together. And people throw in other reasons like, well, the kids, or other, this is who we've been for so long, and that sort of thing. But, as short as life is, and it's short for all of us, whether we're 85 or we're 25, you only get this one life, and you want to finish it like that. For me, again, I have to agree with you. Even my wife, who I love dearly and would gladly give my life for, if she met another guy who made her feel so much more loved, and she was so much happier, that made her think, I've never even known happiness before with Steve.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stay because he doesn't deserve this. I feel sorry for him. I don't want that. I would really want her to move on. And as I say, I'm hella old. So if I, as an older person, can face a future without her companionship, I think anybody can, because I'm not all that. And I think that it's a matter of thinking it through, and maybe accepting a more humble lifestyle, perhaps a smaller home, or even smaller than a home of any kind. Maybe it's just an apartment or a studio or something like that. It just doesn't matter to me. I'd still rather be free and not have to live like that.
Yeah.
Because sunsets are still beautiful, books are still intriguing, music is still lovely, and hopefully I could still have my dog. And so we would, I think we'd all be better off if we didn't make that deal with the devil and just stay.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any positive outcome out of that, because if someone doesn't want to be with you, it's like, again, I've tested the experience. I've tested that with my relationship, And that was only for 3 years, thank God. It's like, and nothing good came from me staying or me fighting for it. What good could have happened if I sat her down and I'm like, hey, it doesn't seem like you love me. It's like when I say I love you, you don't say it back, and then kind of run through a list of things and be like, if you don't want to be in this relationship, I'd rather have you tell me honestly, because this is what I'm looking for, and if you can't give that for me, I think we should break up. I'd like to break up because I feel very unfulfilled in this relationship, and I feel like I'm trying and I'm not getting anywhere.
I was in my first marriage, and I can say that she was very angry with me for breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, we had an 18-year history of her regularly saying, I hate you, I wish you were dead.
Hmm.
So
love was not a choice for her.
Well, that is funny. Yes, it was not. But
did you tell her?
But it's weird, this double message, because I hate you, I wish you were dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then my going ahead and saying, I want to move on. It was like in her mind, I was doing something really morally wrong by moving on.
Yeah, you took the power back.
I don't think I got that complimentary message of taking my power back. I think I just got approval.
Well, I feel like someone who's...
And that I was doing the wrong thing, the morally wrong thing.
So because of the divorce.
Yeah.
So she would have stayed in the relationship for the rest of her life.
I don't know what she would have done, but I know I was, and I think people watching this will probably know what I'm talking about. I mean, under those kinds of conditions, I found myself turning into somebody I didn't like.
Well, I didn't like myself either. It's like,
yeah,
I'm like, people were like, oh, you're really passive, or you're not this, or you're not that. And I'm like, just not.
You were getting feedback from others that you were passive, and
I got it from my friend's girlfriend.
Mm.
Like, oh, you're just a passive person. And I'm like,
oh, that must have felt great.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's like, and I'm like, I don't consider myself passive. When I look at my other aspects of my life, of how I've lived with pursuing writing, pursuing art, going against my parents who wanted me to have a standard 9 to 5, teaching, directing shows, creating curriculums. I'm like, that's pretty like high up there in leadership and kind of like running things. And it's like, I'm not whatever, and I am. But there are moments with the relationship I could see that, because I was afraid to make her upset, or I didn't want to. I was kind of feeling those sort of feelings. And
so I think the aphorism is, if for a guy in that mindset, and I've been that guy. Mm-hmm. If a woman in the room has problems, has pain, then the man has obligations and mm-hmm. responsibilities. That somehow it's our job to make her happy or make her feel good. And I know that women sometimes feel that same way, that it's somehow their responsibility to make the man feel good. And when we talk, we exchange the information, how alike we are. And at the end, it seems we're all just human. And some of us do partner up with people who are just so very miserable and unhappy, and perhaps even unloving, or perhaps merely incompatible with us, that we need to move on. And it's always so messy. And I would say, in hindsight, if I had a choice, I would have done it. If I had clarity, I would have done it much sooner. Stepped away much sooner.
Well, if you had the clarity you knew now, you would have never gotten married after knowing her for 6 months or whatever.
Less than, I really didn't know her but for 3 months. And that was during that narcissistic time frame.
But if it's easy to fall in love, like I feel the same way. It's like, it's easy to fall in love with people, but without any other sort of guidance, you're going to do that, and this could happen. So
let's take some time and see what happens after we've been together for a year, dating, getting to know each other, being in maybe a committed relationship where we're dating exclusively or even sexually monogamous with each other, and see how that goes. But along with all the goodies like sex and love, I also think I would have been well served to just have a few arguments,
Yeah.
not to start them like artificially, but just to see how we conflicted and what those conflicts resulted in. Were we really able to solve problems? But that's another subject for another day. I just think, yeah, love is not a choice, is my conclusion. And I hope other people find the truth for them that works.
All right. And like you said, though, just to reiterate, it's that feeling, it's beyond the head, the mind.
Not under the control of cognition.
Gotcha.
Like, I can reach out and I know I can touch that cup, and that's under my control, but I can't make myself love somebody. It's not the same kind of critter. It's like making myself love a different God. If you say you love God, well then, is love a choice? Could you make yourself love a different God? Most people would say no.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Well, how are you going to do that with a person then?
Yeah. And then I guess, I mean, if someone does believe this, like what do you say to them?
That love is a choice?
Yeah. That it's just not?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm just sick of giving people advice or arguing with them anymore. I think because it never works anyway. And for me, just to share my experience and to say that hasn't been my experience.
Yeah. Well, hasn't been mine either. So.
I've tried to love people and even convinced myself that I did, but I was in denial and I never really successfully ever did that. It's like, yeah, it's like so many things. We just don't have control over over our feelings.
Yeah.
We do have control over our behavior. And for me, one of my regrets is I wish I had exited the relationship in a more honorable way, in a more straightforward way.
Yeah.
And not, not with like this pall of defeat hanging over my head. Because it's nobody's fault that you really don't love somebody. It just is what it is. It's simply the truth.
And that's what we're all looking for, the truth, right? You can't handle the truth. Okay, that's a good way to wrap
I'll let you decide where you're going to end this.
Okay.
I'm sure there's going to be an edit before that.